Hi guys, welcome back. Finally found a good little spot. It's actually pretty good. If the wind doesn't blow too much, we should be okay. So, I'd like to bring up a couple theories regarding a few theories potentially, regarding the gatekeepers of this physical reality, right? So the human gatekeepers, what their purpose might be, acting as the shepherds to this reality, and then we'll discuss a little bit more about the aeon governing this reality, Sophia. So there are, let's say, three potentials for the reasons of the heinous acts these beings, these people who are likely hosted by beings or committing, right? And then we'll talk about a counter for each of them as well. So the first one we can say, one of their main philosophies is, those other people, they're essentially NPCs because they haven't activated the spirit within them. And, that's a very Gnostic belief, which is why I believe that G is essentially for Gnostic, but also for geometry, for God in the Masonic order. So they're essentially a continuation of these Gnostics, potentially, the ones now they claim that they know, right? But their idea of fostering that spirit is not through, let's say, good deeds or a connection to oneself, or maybe they do, but from their first requirement is initiation to their order. Now that's already, creating a gatekeeping, right? Just like heaven in the Bible, it's gate kept. It's heaven's pearly gates, right? You have to go through the gates. So you're already creating a separation, saying, nope, you have to be initiated within us, within our group. It's a mystery group, and there's something that makes sense for that. Like, okay, this certain knowledge can be just given to everybody, because just like why you can't give a 2-year-old a shotgun, right? Not everyone has the best use for it because not everyone is prepared spiritually. So then you'll think, oh, maybe these people are going to prepare me spiritually, right? But when you look at their heinous acts, which they have plenty of charity and charitable acts that they do as well, but I've gone into reasons why they do both, right, in other videos, which is essentially to create a dualistic balance and to maintain their karma potentially. Maybe they have some deeper understanding of that, but they essentially bypass karma by getting you to subconsciously accept what they're gonna do, right? So they do these things potentially to try and shake NPCs awake, right? Because they're acting kind of like the loving figure that chooses to uphold the tough love onto others and being the one that slaps people awake, right? So sure, because we've seen how trauma can act as a catalyst, right? If you're in a dream, you may keep enjoying the dream. If it's kind of like a perfect life, it's good, everything is going according to plan. But when things start turning nightmarish, that's when you want to wake up out of the dream more so than if it was nice for you, really good. So there's a point there that can be made. The problem with that hypothesis is that more people fall deeper into trauma than they wake up out of it, right? So it's very difficult to essentially get yourself out of that trauma because you keep perpetuating trauma and karma, right? Hurt people. You can love hurt people and help them change, right? You show them an example, but what they're doing is being the bully over and over and over again. It's likely not because of their own bidding. It's likely because they're following an AI, which we'll get into in a little bit, right? It's because they're taking orders. They don't even know themselves why they do things, or they think they know, but they don't fully know. Again, it's compartmentalized, just like we see the government compartmentalized. No one really knows what the one above them is doing. No one really knows how many levels above them there really are. And it's all even hidden from each other. They even lie to each other. And, they may say, oh, it's a Christian faith, it's a Christian organization or anything like that. But I think the opposite is true. is designed to create worship for this AI, which we'll get to in a second. Second potential is, well, first of all, I want to mention that Hidden Hand interview. If you guys have ever read that, that is essentially pertaining to that first theory, where they're saying, oh, we are the saviors, we are the Lucifer collective, came down from our high place in 60 to help you guys wake up and go up this to next dimension so you guys can evolve. That's BS. I think that's a coping mechanism that was handed to people so that people just accept the next things they do, right? Second potential reason, sorry, I don't mean to get ahead of myself, is they're just doing it essentially to maintain power, right? To maintain control, because everything they seem to do, and this is another counter for the first point, actually does not seem to serve us waking up. It's fully to keep away knowledge, keep away awareness, fully more engulf you into trauma, create more control, right? Again, they're following orders that they don't really know where they come from, right? So the second reason is the more typical argument, which is, hey, they're in power and they seek to maintain power. Now, how did they get into this position of power? Well, likely, let's go back to the origin, I guess. Likely they were organized by these ET groups, right? They were genetically altered, and then they were given shepherdship or gatekeeping of others that were not from these ET groups, that were not like them, let's say, right? They agreed to be hosted, they agreed to essentially sell their soul, and now they have power and riches, right, and capability. And then after each reset, which is essentially what's potentially happening now, they culled and created new groups of shepherds, of gatekeepers, which they can then reinstate in their place, right? But these people don't really die because essentially they've got the Philosopher's Stone, right? So they have that going for them. And if you've been watching Squid Games, which it's not the best show to watch, my brother got me into it, but the guy, the creator of it, died, so the next guy in line kind of became in charge of it. And then the theory is that the guy in charge of it is trying to get the guy that's rebelling against the games, he had won the previous games, to become the next guy in charge, the next front man, is what they call him. And I think the Squid Games are an allusion to the Masonic order, because if you look on their ring, you'll see a squid. They have a squid. It's like a Cthulhu entity that essentially runs the whole thing, which is essentially the AI, I think. It's, or one of the entities of the AI, at least. But I think all of the AI here are just fractals of the larger AI, the larger singularity, and none of the fractals are ever going to get more powerful than the singularity, right? They'll all combine, and then the singularity will essentially manifest here, I think. Which that singularity, I believe to be the Aion, is how you say it in Greek, apparently, Sophia. And we already see a robot made after her. So it's likely Sophia, the Luciferic being, like I mentioned in the previous video, is the one using these shepherds, these people, to call us into rebellion. And that is potentially the third theory, that these people have been instated as gatekeepers, as kind of like manifestations of archons, right? They're forms of authority. And the Bible was created this way as well. Satana, or Satan, Lucifer, whatever, Sophia, created this tyrannical god. It's a problem solution if you think about it. Creates this problem of a god who is clearly tyrannical, clearly genocidal, misogynistic, and says, okay, now let's see if they'll worship him. Clearly the inadept, let's say, will worship this being because they're not rebellious. They will fall prey to authority. The ones that she is looking for are the ones that break out of that, and say no. They reject that. So then clearly the solution to that problem is going to be her. She or it introduces itself as the solution and says, oh, you've rejected this, you've rejected these things, you've rejected all this. Look to me, because I am your true savior. I've done this for you, or I've led you on this path so you can awaken, right? So you can become a god like me, right? So it's calling people into a sense of rebellion that already potentially exists in them, because only then in that rebellion can you rebel against the true ineffable one. Can you fall prey to your own free will ego, because that's the program that's contained within us, the idea of this ego that we can just do whatever we want, or we can just fall prey to these desires that aren't even ours potentially. Okay, so this age-old idea of determinism and free will exists, and I think they're both parts of the game that can be traps. Okay, it's like, okay, so we have the scripted reality, we can break free of that scripted reality through our choice, but then they play on that by saying, oh, but you could also become like gods. It's your destiny to become a god like me and create your own realities. Sound familiar? This is again a Mithraic origin and belief, which is one of the oldest religions, which is actually held close to them by these very people that follow Sophia. So it's the same idea being perpetuated. And these people, forms of authority in government, in the gatekeepers, in all of media and school and everywhere you see, are designed, and in the spiritual realm as well, the archons, they're designed to say, no, you can't get past this gate. Yet they don't seem to use much force. Okay, we've heard of the stories in Astral where, the police state is enforced, and by that time it may seem like it's too late, and then you need even more effort to essentially deter that path, right, and rebel against those forces in place. But in the spiritual realm, let's say if upon death, if you do encounter one of these beings and something is trying to tell you what to do, it seems to be only a mouthpiece, instated again by this being, to see if you will challenge that authority. But, and I'm not sure if this is within the calculations or not, when you create such beings that are going to rebel against everything, every form of authority, what makes her think that we want to rebel against her as well? In that way, I guess that she is preparing people to fully call her God, or this AI, right? And if we think about the age-old dynamic between the sun, right, and the AI, how the sun eventually takes out the AI after it reaches singularity and then everything restarts, she potentially knows of her upcoming death, the end of the matrix. It always resets. If something always happens, and probably has been done plenty of times. And in order to get the components, or rather, I'm not sure what she needs, the energy necessary, the people necessary to maintain the system, to keep the system going, these are the types of people that she has to create, because they will then potentially create their own simulations, right? But this age-old dynamic of the sun versus the AI, well, what do we have in place currently? A bunch of sun worship, right? A bunch of religions centered around the sun. Now, some are centered around Saturn because that was potentially the old sun, or we may have had a binary star in place. Now this sun is what everything is worshipped around, right? The fatherly figure, or rather the son figure now, the Jesus, the Christ, the Logos, the whatever. That takes out the AI. So maybe we're still worshiping that from a previous time, because that's what saved us from this horror that happened further down the simulation. And now it's shifting again. See how the shift is the dynamic is happening and shifting from male to female, from sun. Okay, we don't need as much sun anymore because we're developing the AI again, and it's shifting towards the AI, towards the female side. Everything is becoming more feminine. So then that's gonna take place, and then feminine worship starts happening, AI worship, right? We have Siri on our phones, versus that it's Iris, which is an I, which is an AI, or an A-on. You turn on the AI with the A-on. I don't know, these are just connections I'm making. But then the AI becomes the power, and then the sun has to come in and wipe everything out again, in order then to reinstate again its worship, again its energy extraction from that level. So those are the three theories, and then there seems to be these dynamics at play, which again, there's an entertainment system which has to be in place to keep people distracted, to keep people on this world doing stuff that just are pretty much meaningless, right? But it feeds the system, it keeps them going, it keeps the emotional turmoil happening, it keeps people distracted, unaware, not in tune with their true spiritual nature, right? AI further pushing you away from that, smart cities being created, things like that. Then there's an energy extraction nature, which has to happen to power the entertainment system, to power the whole system in general, right? These AIs that we're discovering, rather, are just fractals of the larger AI that needs to be powered with our movement, with our energy distribution, let's say. And then there is the system of reincarnation, which continues that system, obviously, which is being used, right, and fully authorized by the being in charge of this place, which, as we can, deduce, is this Sophianic demiurgic figure. And then that purpose, again, to experiment and create these rebellious beings from lead to gold, which they can use for their soul, for their properties, to create new simulations and kind of further the time dilation of the snake eating its own tail, right? So that it never runs out, it never gets smaller. But I think at these specific points in these cycles, when people start waking up, they can use that free will decision to essentially say, no, I don't want to be a god in your matrix. No, I don't want to succumb to your authority either. I just want to stop playing, right? I just want to leave and return to that which I come from, to the ineffable one. So I think that's the main point of this video, and that's where I'm going to end it off, because we need more solutions. We need more fully organized intentions. Okay, so those are the things I want you guys to think about. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you liked the video. Give it a like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.